Coming towards 7:24 in Trinidad and Tobago on this Wednesday in the middle of your business and a busy second hour of Morning Edition as we talk now about the issue of autism, because April is Autism Awareness Month, and on set we have with us applied behavior analysis therapist Khadeen Ali. She's here to tell us more about the links between ABA therapy and autism spectrum disorder, because research has shown that ABA is an effective therapy in treating the autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, especially if the child receives early attention and intervention. Ms. Ali opened a clinic in January of this year, Jigsaw Therapeutic Services Limited, and is here to tell us more. And if you want to find out more about the Jigsaw Therapeutic Services, they are located at Alfredo Street in Woodbrook. Their contact number 339-3058, 339-3058. They also, you can find them on Facebook, Jigsaw Therapeutic Services, and on email you can contact them jigsawtherapy@gmail.com. That's jigsawtherapy@gmail.com. And the reason for the jigsaw is because there was always this analogy about the autism spectrum disorder, that it's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle with maybe one or two pieces missing, or maybe that irregularly put in the wrong place and creates a challenge in some respect. Very, very good morning. Good to have you here with us.
Yes.
Tell us about this issue, about when we talk about the links between ABA therapy and autism spectrum disorder. For many of us, we're not too clear exactly what does that mean, even though people may have some idea about autism and the autism spectrum and the challenges and so on. Tell us a bit more.
Okay, well, the autism spectrum is characterized by deficits in social interaction and communication, and it's marked by what we call unusual behavior, which is usually repetitive behaviors, like hand flapping, just as an example.
Yes.
It's different in every child. There's no child with autism that's the same as the other. Each child is different. If you meet one child, you've met one child with autism, you know? Yes. Also, some of them, they have a strict adherence to routine. So if you take them off their routine, it's, you know, you throw their whole life out of balance.
Many people of my age refer to the movie Rain Man.
Yeah.
With Dustin Howe. I don't know if you recall that.
I know.
I don't know what that was, a proper representation or misrepresentation, but it seemed to be the same sort of thing, that from the time you divert from the routines, it creates chaos.
Yes. Well, as I said, each person is different, and what I find with movies is that they tend to highlight the higher functioning persons with autism, you know, the Sheldons and so on. But, you know, it's a spectrum, and there are persons who may not be as, you know, geniuses or so on, but just regular kids and adults, and they are also low-functioning kids and adults. So, you know, they always portray these, you know, these really intellectual, like, focused on, I don't know, science or so on, but that's just one facet of it, but every person is different.
Is it difficult to diagnose?
To diagnose autism, in Trinidad, we have 3 pediatricians that diagnose, and it isn't difficult. It's just that it's difficult in Trinidad to get a diagnosis because you're on a waiting list for almost a year or more. And what they say is that early intervention is the best. So the earlier you detect it, the better. And, well, the detection rate is probably not as good as it should be. More doctors and teachers and persons in the community need to be trained to, you know, kind of, you know, detect the signs of autism.
So what should I do as a parent? If I mean, how early can you get any indication that there may be an issue here with the spectrum?
They say younger than one and younger. That's why at our clinic we take kids from 1.5. You know, so what we do, we use a milestones assessment called the VB map. Right? It's a verbal behavior milestones assessment placement program. What we do is we check to see what milestones your child has hit and what milestones your child has not hit. Right? And we focus on target those. Of course, an ABA therapist cannot diagnose. The only persons that can diagnose are pediatricians.
Yeah.
You know?
And so that presents a challenge, of course, because if you're on a waiting list of 1 year and you're a little anxious, you want to know what is going on. You really want to move ahead. You don't want to wait and wait.
You don't know if it's just a delayed thing or if
because people might argue, well, only don't worry with that. People people develop at different ages. My child didn't start doing this until so, but look them now, and that sort of thing.
I know, and I don't want to create panic, but I do think that if we had the resources, you know, I mean, if you're waiting for a year, you'll start to become panicked, you know. But if you had the access to a pediatrician that could, you know, say, okay, you know, your child has autism or some other developmental disorder, or they can say, you know, your child is developing fine. It can put the parents, you know, at ease. But it's a work in progress, and I encourage young people to probably try and get into developmental pediatricians and stuff, because we only have 3, and if we had more, maybe the waiting list would be less. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit more about Jigsaw Therapeutic Services and the range of services that are offered.
Okay. Well, we provide ABA therapy. I'm one of the 2 ABA therapists in Trinidad. The other ABA therapist in Trinidad is also Kadeen. Her name is Kadeen Peters, and she operates in South with Hope Therapy Clinic. And ABA therapy isn't used only for persons with autism. It's found to be effective in treating autism, but what we use is behavioral principles such as positive reinforcement, and we use learning principles such as RLS teaching to, you know, bring about positive behavior change. And this can be done if you want to quit smoking, if you want to develop a new habit. It can be used in the workplace to increase employee motivation and so on. But what we use it for is to help the child hit their milestones. So we target, and each child is different, right? So each child will have a different target based on their VB map, where we saw their deficits. So each child will, they can have areas that they're deficit in, such as play skills. So we target play skills. It could be self-help skills such as potty trainings, dressing, you know. It could also be communication. So communication doesn't actually mean just speech only, because we have some kids that they don't have words. Yeah. But we can use pictures. We can also try and shape the sound. So we use the child's motivation. So if the child is really motivated to have a cookie, that's their favorite thing in the whole wide world, we try to get them to say k, and then we try to shape it all the way up to cookie, and then after the child starts to echo us, we try to put a little time in between so that the child can start saying cookie on their own. But that's just an example of one child. Each child's program is completely individualized. And what sets ABA apart from other therapies is that we are very data-driven. We take data on everything. So we know, is this program working? If it's not, we look at the trends, we graph, and we say, okay, it's not working, and we go back to the drawing board and we say, okay, what do we do? You know, and we try to adjust their programs.
Sure. And time is going by very quickly, but just to ask the question, because we had a parent on the show last week who was raising the issue about her children, why are they not getting opportunities in the regular school system and the funding for it and so on.
I agree with her, yeah.
Some will say that, you know, that they will require far too much attention and resources that the ordinary school system can afford.
Well, I have a lot of opinions on it. One of the things is to move towards special education and inclusive education, persons with special needs in the general education classroom. We kind of have to change the way we teach kids, because we're very exam driven, you know. Yeah. What teacher wants, a standard 4, standard 5 teacher wants a child in her class, even if it's just, you know, a person with high functioning autism and they have some behavioral issues, keeping the class back so that they don't get, you know, the best SEA results. We're so focused on examinations, and I think that...
But even if we were to put aside the exam, put aside... I don't want to make it sound insulting or you know, in any way offensive, but some teachers might argue to have children with different levels of the spectrum disruptive in the class.
In the class, yeah. And so teachers need to be trained in how to handle it. We need more aides in the classroom, you know. We need therapists to liaise with teachers so that therapists aren't working one thing in therapy and then when they go to school, the teachers, they're not aware of what it is that works for the child and so on. I mean, it is an economic cost.
Yes.
You know, and I know that's a concern because we are in a recession, so they say, you know.
Yeah.
But I think if there is a child with autism or any other disability that can, you know, progress and be a you know, a contributing member of society, why should we not invest in them? You know?
Indeed. Well, time is run out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but let's remind everybody again that you can avail yourself of the services of Jigsaw Therapeutic Services Limited. They're at Alfredo Street in Woodbrook. You can call 339-3058. You can find them on Facebook, and you can also email jigsawtherapy@gmail.com. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah.
We're good to get all this information, and maybe it's a discussion that we should continue at another time with all of these issues about some people saying, well, look, it costs too much to accommodate children with the autism spectrum disorder. Others saying that we need to have a far more enlightened approach to the issue of education generally, and not just be preoccupied with exams. We'll take a break and continue in this last half an hour.